This is Brian Samborino, and you're listening to the Disruptive Consulting Podcast. It's my mission to help decision makers and business owners excel, so I'm bringing you some of the nation's top consultants and executives to break down the strategies that they've used to disrupt the average day-to-day process.
Who is your market?
Who is
positive?
That's how do you typically reach their parents?
CEOs knew it wasn't working. That's why they just come in here. And she always comes up.
I cannot say enough great things about someone. And with Ramon Peralta today from Peralta Design. Ramon, feel free to introduce yourself. Let everyone know who you are.
Yes, hi, I'm Ramon Peralta. I'm the founder and CEO at Peralta Design, your marketing agency partner. We provide the rocket fuel for business through branding, web development, and digital marketing. At Peralta Design, we launch brands.
There it is. Yeah, I mean, good, great reputation in the area. So I appreciate you coming on. Also, you have your own podcast, right? So you want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure. Yeah. So Mission Controls, our podcast. Seems like everybody has a podcast, but I love it because it's just an opportunity to put out really positive content in a world where we get bombarded with negativity. It's great to feature and highlight some of our clients and some local folks and national folks that are making an impact in their community through their philanthropy, or maybe they go to university, or they have some really great business opportunity. So I'm honored to be on your show, and of course, I would make the time to be on it. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ramon. So I ask pretty much a set list of questions, and we'll
Yeah.
start with who is your market?
Who is my market? So that's changed over the years. I think every business, has the evolution, or they should. Right now, 2023, our target are business owners, the decision makers, the business owners. We're definitely a B2B business, but we're really targeting businesses that are doing 5 million and up in business. When we started our business, 15 years ago, our target were startup businesses, right? So completely different market now. While we still do attract startup clients, I think primarily based on my history of being on the original team behind Priceline and our kind of capability and launching a company quickly, we're really more focused on well-funded, well-established businesses that want to go to that 10 million or 20 million or 100 million level. So our strategies and tactics will help them scale and grow their businesses, many of which are just word of mouth businesses that finally feel like they should try marketing. And that's our target these days, the actual business owners. We're definitely a B2B business.
One thing that you mentioned, and we didn't include in the intro, is that Ramon is an established speaker, and you mentioned Priceline, right? So do you want to give everyone a little bio of your background, or?
Yeah. I mean, I'm dating myself when I go there, but it is part of my brand story, and I encourage people to craft their own brand story, and talk about the failures and the ups and downs that they may have gone through to get them to where they are today. And my story, begins at Priceline. I was on that original team that launched it back in 1998. I had an opportunity to go work there, like a lot of people did once it left the nest being the incubator that I worked at, which was called Walker Digital. I had so much fun creating the company along with my teammates that I realized quickly that was more fun to me than actually working at a company. So the environment at Walker was like, okay, what's the next company that we're going to launch? And so I instead of being part of the Priceline full-time staff, I stayed on board at Walker Digital, where we continue to innovate and continue to incubate startup companies for the next 10 years. So if you can imagine, my boss at the time, Jay Walker, who gave me a tremendous education, he had a patent portfolio of over 400 patents all around e-commerce, technology, travel, health, gaming. And so Priceline was just one of those patents, probably the most famous patent to have become a company. But it was through working with Jay for that long that I really developed a knack and a passion for how do you take an idea and monetize it? How do you take an idea and brand it? How do you take an idea and grow it? And so that's a lot of the foundation of what we do at Peralta Design today.
Oh, that's a great story. What? How do you take that and decide which problem to solve? Because I mean, there's so much. It's so loaded. There's branding, there's
Yeah,
marketing, there's all of this, all of these terms that I don't even know about. But how do you
yeah.
take that experience and solve a problem?
Well, I mean, we think about who our customer is. We think about who we're targeting. We think about you have to kind of like the formula for a pitch deck when you have a new idea is still what we did back then. Is still what we do today. You kind of tee up the problem. You present statistics. You present a scenario that everybody's kind of gets on the same page with, and then you hit them with like, and here's this. And back then, the problem, if you want to think about it, literally was empty airline seats. Jay really had this idea of like, okay, so these are empty airline seats that are flying overhead. How can we get people in those seats at a discount? It was the concept of unused supply or untapped demand. Think about restaurants; they have a time period where they're slow. Same concept as you would offer a lunch bonus or afternoon discount to get people in. If there are times in your business that you see that it gets slower, maybe there's some kind of promotion you do at that time. So I think to answer your question, typically we ask people, how are you going to make money? We listen to their whole pitch, and then we ask them, how are you going to make money? It's very important to us that people understand that while they may be solving a problem, they also need to have some sort of monetization strategy. And I don't think if you go to a web developer that works from home or a designer that works from home, I'm not picking on working from home, but I'm using them as examples of people that work in silos. If you're a business owner and you find an individual that's going to help you with one aspect of your business, you have to realize that you need different eyeballs on that project. You're doing a website, you need a marketing team to look at it. You need a designer to look at it. It's not just having a web developer. And that's one of the things that I learned back then is the aspect of having a team that each brings a unique kind of set of superpowers that ultimately benefit the client in the end and bringing their solution to life.
It's such a good point. When I started this, it was just me. But now, just working with all these people, that was exactly. And I think that some of it I took from you, or at least got the idea to take from you.
Mhm.
That just the idea to have all these complementary services and me, because now my
Yeah.
whole team, I write, she reviews, she writes, I review, I add data, she adds community or something like that, right? Um, you're right. It's just so important, and I don't think that it's really possible. I mean, freelancing is great, but it's just like next level shit, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. You're gonna get, I know we're gonna talk about what's our advantage, but at some point, but I think the pricing is not going to be on par. Like an agency is going to charge you is going to be way more than what an individual is going to charge you. But the value that you get by working with an agency exceeds the pitfalls of working. And look, I don't knock anybody that's doing that. I started, in my basement as an individual, as a solopreneur. It's just taken me 15 years to get to a point now where team doesn't really need me. I can go out and speak. I can go on a book tour. I can do other things because I've built this team up. All of it has been motivated by the purpose of providing a greater level of service, right? You if you're in business, you've got to continue to wow people. You've got to continue to raise the bar on what their expectations are, because agencies are competitive. Your space, analytics and all that. I'm sure there's a million other companies that do what you do. Like I say to everybody, what makes your business unique? What makes your business different? And you can start with service, and providing a higher level of service is one way to do that.
Well, one thing that I want to point out is you mentioned price, and then at the end you mentioned competition. Um,
Yeah,
it's funny because I get leads from this one portal, and we put in these like simple proposals, and many of the other people on in this portal are um, maybe freelancers or solopreneurs or something like that. And then the woman called and said like, "Hey, just wanted to touch base. We have this project," and then mentioned in that call, you guys are the best on the platform. And then I said to my employee Michaela, price just went up.
yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's you got to pay your staff, you got to pay your invoices. I mean, today I lost a project to an individual, and it's like there's no sweat. In full transparency, it was going to be an organization's kind of centennial event. It's going to be this big booklet, and it's expensive. It's a 100-page booklet. They wanted to get it printed and designed, and while we do probably 70% digital, we still have quite a chunk of our business is print. And at the end of the day, they said, "Oh yeah, we're going to go with this individual to put this book together." Well, there's no way that an agency is going to compete with an individual.
no.
The challenges are, if that individual gets sick, if that individual gets another gig that pays them more, that individual goes on vacation, your project is stalled. But in some cases, it is a better move. If you're sincere about doing what's best for the customer, there are going to be some situations where you literally get news like that. In my case, I said to them, absolutely no sweat. Actually, let me know if there's any room in your publication. I'll put an ad in it. Even though I didn't win the job, I'll still support the cause and put an ad in it. And that's another level of integrity, if you will. It's also being true to what your mission is. If your mission is about helping clients and they actually find a better option, so be it. You're gonna win the next job. You're making room for your team to tackle projects that are more in alignment with what you should be working on.
And I think it really just comes down to good business practice, at least my experience. It's funny that you mentioned that story because a few days ago I was working with this client and we prepared a few grant applications for her. And she's got a nonprofit. It's pretty big out in California, but she formed a new, and we haven't had any luck getting her funding for whatever reason. But we put in a few applications, and she said, um, I haven't been working with any other grant consultants. Um, I don't know, talking about how I was like such a nice person, this and that, because
Yeah,
I treat her well, right? And I don't
yeah.
like bill her some exorbitant amount of money. Point is, I told her, listen, I'm going to set you up in this portal. It's similar to what the Great Give does, but it's for California. And
Hmm.
you let me know when your profile's all set and the program starts, because I'm going to donate $200 to your charity. I don't say that because I'm trying to brag or anything. It's just relative to your story, right?
It's goodwill.
Um,
It's goodwill. It's
right,
absolutely goodwill, and it goes a long way.
right. Um, all right. So I mean, I think we both know, but how did you build this reputation?
Just being true, being a man of my word, saying I would do the things that I would say I was going to do when I'd say I was going to do them. If you do that, you're already doing 90% better than most people. I think most people flake out if there's no interest in it for them. They're not dependable. I support a ton of charities, and I reciprocate. If an agency hires us, we have a lot of nonprofit agencies. A lot of what they spend on us goes right back to them. And over time, if people see you, I've been at this 15 years plus, but if people see you at events and they see the checks coming in and word gets around, trust me, in the circles of philanthropy, word gets around, you start getting board positions, you start getting invitations, you start getting solicitations. And at some point you start saying, okay, do these organizations align with what my company stands for, what I stand for? Are they hiring us to help them do some of the things they need to do? And if all those things start lining up, then it makes total sense to be in that pipeline. And in doing so, you build a good brand reputation for yourself because people talk. You see the impact. They see you at the right events. But people are also, there's a lot of let's just say that you'll pass the sniff test when you really are sincere about the things that you support and the things that you belong to, and you just never know. We've like many industries, like I think the nonprofit space can also be incestuous, where somebody's an executive director someplace and they go to a different one and now they're the director there. And so you find the relationships that you build over the years follow you from one organization to another at times, and that also builds your brand reputation, because now when that person who's dealt with you at a different organization ends up at another organization, they're required to bring in their people, and you're in that circle, right? So it takes time, but it works best if you're authentic, if you're sincere, and if you align with the causes that matter the most to you. It's such a win-win for yourself, for your team, for your company, and you want to be part of the solution, regardless of what the news might say. Doom and gloom. Your team has to stay motivated. I always like to tell them, at PD we're part of the solution. So that's what I encourage.
And one thing that I would love, I've been talking to a couple colleagues. I really want to get more involved in the community, and it's not necessarily for brand or I don't know. I used to be somewhat, but I think that at this point it's time for me to start giving back. So if you know anything, like podcasts or not, if you know any uh, boards or things that I can contribute to in any way, please let me know.
Absolutely. There's so many. So we can certainly have a conversation about that offline.
Awesome. So what do you think is your greatest asset? What do you think is your greatest liability?
Um,
This could be personally, professionally, anything like
yeah,
that.
I think our greatest asset is the team we've built. We've got a really, really strong culture. I'm actually on a panel tomorrow morning talking about culture. And culture comes down to it's easy. Richard Branson, it's one of my favorite guys to quote what he's done at Virgin. But basically, you build culture by treating people the way you wish to be treated. So we've just built a great place to come in and work every day, and they're willing to do anything they can to help our clients. And so the ability to just clone myself and my level of attention to detail on a large scale is our biggest asset. Our biggest liability is that I'm a harmonizer. Meaning that, like, I really want everybody to be in a good place, clients included. And so my biggest liability, that in doing that, I could be very trusting. I could drink the Kool-Aid very fast. And so at times it exposes us as a company, to possibly not getting paid or getting involved in something that doesn't really ever launch, or puts our team in a precarious situation. And so what I've done to alleviate that is I make sure to get more people involved on my team in the decision-making process. Or in my early days, I would pound the pavement, bring clients in, and we take care of those clients at any cost. Now, to alleviate and minimize that liability of me being too trusting and wanting to help people to a fault, is that I make sure my team feels like the client is a good fit for them as well as a client. So I make sure the team understands, like, it's not about how much sales I'm bringing in. Is this client a good fit for PD? Are you guys okay being the main point of contact with this client? Are you going to be okay working with this client? Are there any red flags that we're seeing during the negotiation phase, during the discovery phase, that might be indicative of a problem client down the line? And so getting them involved earlier. I do the same thing if we're hiring. I bring people in early and let them give me their feedback on, okay, you're going to probably work with this person more than I am. So do you like this person?
Right.
Are you willing to, like, hang with this person? Getting their input more versus, here, here's a new guy, get used to him, goes a long way to minimize that liability that I know I'm prone to. So you got to be to that own self, be true. There are things you're prone to. If you're prone to rush over the details, hire somebody that's going to look at the details. Like if you're, I go back to that, my TED talk, firing yourself. If there are things you're doing that you're not good at, fire yourself, but you got to be honest with yourself to minimize that liability.
Interesting perspective. All right. So next, this is the question of the show. And this is why, no, like, this is why I started this show. This is the whole theme of it. I want to know, how are you disruptive in your industry? There are a million marketers not as good as you. A
Yeah,
lot of consulting agencies not as good as
yeah,
you.
yeah. How am I disruptive? We have uh, passive. Well, internally, from a team standpoint, from a culture standpoint, we're disruptive in that everybody feels a sense of ownership. There are incentives for everyone to aid in the creation of, what we call PRIs, passive recurring income. So if somebody creates a course or creates a class or helps establish a partnership with a web hosting company and there's passive revenue being generated, they have a stake in it. So there's some profit sharing going on. So as an agency, that's disruptive. In today's day and age, the fact that we're leasing 3,000 square foot of AAA prime office space on a beautiful sprawling campus is disruptive, because we're in a day and age where people are working from home. And the principal, somebody like me, would be sitting at a Starbucks, booking calls and farming out work overseas. So the fact that we are brick and mortar, W-2, 401k, equity sharing, profit sharing, all of those things that are advantage team, heavily advantaged team, are making us disruptive. And what it's done is it's allowed us to provide a really superior level of service to our clients. Somebody competing against me that has a high turnover rate, that has high unhappy employees, that have employees that are disengaged, that are some are working from home, some are contractors, and some are freelancers. They are not going to be able to get back to a client within 8 hours or 12 hours or less. They're going to need 24 to 36 or 72 or 48, and I'm going to win. So we're
Right.
disruptive in all those ways.
All right. How does technology influence or complement your business or service, product?
Huge,
Huge.
huge. Google. I mean, like, what I would recommend anybody watching is, if you're in any kind of service industry, first thing you should do when you get a new client is ask them, how did you find out about us? how did you get here? It's something that we're all used to filling out in anything we do. If you're in a service business, ask your customers first question on onboarding them if they're asking for an estimate or a meeting or a quote or anything from you. Ask them, how did you find us? How did you hear about us? How did you get to our website? And we're finding like an increasingly high number of our clients are just finding us on Google. That's a big change from just a few years ago where it was mostly word of mouth. And so SEO is playing an increasingly important role in business today because people are walking around on their phones and they see something, hear something, need something. First thing they do is they go on to Google. And it's very important that your business be set up in a way that, your Google My Business is there, your reviews are there, you got the 5 stars, you got the picture of your space. You gotta look legit, you gotta look the part. And I noticed an increasingly high uptick in the amount of prospects that want to do business with us coming in without me having to ever go out and look for them, right? You and I see each other at networking events. That used to be how I got clients. I'd go talk to them, get a card, follow up, and it was just a real kind of clunky, cumbersome process. Now they come through us. They identify themselves through our intake form, tell us they came in through Google, and then now when I contact them to meet with them, it's a lot warmer because they've actually said, I'm giving you permission to market to me. Here's what I need. Can you help me? It's a whole nother system. And of course, you're in the tech space, so you know how important a CRM is and how important project management is. It allows you to scale, right? Without it, what are you going to have, a notebook or a post-it note? And so, as an owner, you always got to be thinking of like one day somebody's going to knock on my door and say, hey, your business is doing so awesome, I want to buy it. And if that day comes, you need to be ready. And any successful business should be ready for that. And so technology helps you prepare for that moment because somebody's going to say, okay, so what happens to you if you get hit by a bus on the way home? What's going to happen to your business? You should have the technological backbone to be able to tell somebody, if something happens to me, God forbid, somebody else is going to come in and log in and be able to see everything, see all my clients, see who I need to call, see where all my projects stand, see who owes me money, all that. And that's where technology comes in.
I want to talk to you after this call about something called Go High Level. I just found out about it, but it may interest you because it's specific for like marketing. We'll chat, but yeah, when you were talking, it was funny because you said where your leads come from, and the first thing I thought was you should use Zoho CRM.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to bring up a competitor of yours, but we signed on recently with Salesforce, and we're learning it. And I know Zoho has a lot of awesome tools, and it just happened to be what worked best for us. But I know that Zoho has a whole suite of tools. I recommend you be on a CRM period, and be on a project management tool period. But certainly look into Zoho because you guys have a whole suite of tools.
Right. All right. Awesome. So where can our listeners find out more about you?
Great. So, our podcast is on our website. Our free report card that we offer business owners for their websites, that's on our website. So just go to peraltadesign.com, peraltadesign.com. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Ramon Peralta. You could also look up my book and my book series at launchyourbrandbook.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Ramon. I appreciate you being on the show. And yeah, let's connect again soon.
Thank you, Brian. Take care.
How do I stop this damn recording?